detailers there as well if you'd like. NewYorkTours.eu to the bottom of the line. Anyway, this is the second royal palace on our tour today. It is St. James's Palace, and it is the third oldest palace here in London. Now, if you would like to see the very oldest palace or castle here in London, it is in fact the only one which is not on our tour today, and that is because it is the Tower of London, and it is on the other side of the city centre from where we'll be walking to today. But fear not, we do have a tour which covers the Tower of London. It is our old city tour. It goes at 10 o'clock every morning from Tower Hill Station, from the sundial next to the station there. Pretty fantastic tour. It will cover plague, fire, heads on sticks, buildings falling down, being rebuilt, falling down again, and being rebuilt again. It is exciting stuff, and what's more, it has quite a number of movie and book references, including 2 Harry Potter references, so you know you can't miss out on that. I would love to see you down there tomorrow morning. I'll be running that tour tomorrow. If you would like any more details, I do have some leaflets here with all of the information. Just to let you know, the district line which goes to Tower Hill Station is not working tomorrow, so to get there you have to go to Trafalgar Square and get on the number 15 bus. Or you can go to Bank and walk for 10 minutes. There are signposts there as well. But we'd love to see you down there tomorrow. Anyway, moving back to St. James's Palace, like I said, it is the third oldest palace here in London. It was built in the 1500s, and it was commissioned during the reign of a King of England named King Henry VIII. Now, King Henry VIII is pretty famous for having had 6 wives, not all at the same time, of course, one after the other, but we'll talk about Henry VIII a little bit more later on. He, though, had this palace commissioned to be built here. He wanted it for his official royal residence, and he did indeed move inside. This was the official home of the King and Queen, right up until 1837, when Queen Victoria moved out and moved into Buckingham Palace instead. So today, St. James's Palace is no longer a royal residence. However, it is still pretty important because this building contains the Royal Court of St. James's. Now this is basically where all of the ambassadors from all of your countries come, where before they are sworn in and officially become an ambassador in this country. They come here, they get in a carriage, and they head down the road in front of Buckingham Palace, the Mall, straight down to meet the Queen and be sworn in. And this is also the Queen's official address. So if you would like to write a letter to the Queen when you've got home, dear Liz, just got back from London, weather, big dodgy, shopping expensive, walking tour great. Then this is where you want to send that letter. But St. James's Palace, of course, being here on this street means that this street behind us, Pall Mall, is also a pretty important street here in London. In fact, from the 1500s right through the 1700s, this was pretty much the most prestigious street in London. This is where everybody wanted to live. Anybody who wanted to make friends with the royals tried to get themselves a house along here. So today there are still lots and lots of embassies up and down Pall Mall. There's the New Zealand embassy, so many your guys' embassy is down there. We'll see that a bit later. There's the Cyprus embassy. There's the Quebec, whatever they have. There's loads of things up and down there. There's also the Queen's hat maker, the Queen's tailor. They both have their shops up and down here. Lots of gentlemen's clubs as well. I'll talk about those in a bit more detail later on. And also, this is where the mistresses, the secret lovers of the various kings of England, would try and live as well. In particular, one very famous mistress, a lady named Nell Gwyn. Now, I'll talk a bit more about Nell Gwyn in a couple of moments' time, but she was the mistress to King Charles II. And King Charles II was very lucky that he ever made it to the throne in the first place. He very nearly never got the chance to be king. This has quite a lot to do with his father, King Charles I. Now, Charles I was King of England back in the early 1600s. And he had some very old-fashioned views. He believed in something called the divine right of kings. Basically, he believed that God was instructing him personally on how to run the country, and nobody else knew how to do that other than him, which was not something that the members of Parliament at the time particularly agreed with. They kind of thought that they had been booted in to run the country, and that it was Charles's job to smile and wave politely, like our royals do today. So this became a bit of an argument between Charles and Parliament, and after Charles had tried to get rid of Parliament 3 times, they got fed up with him and declared war on him. So this was the beginning of the English Civil War. On one side, we have Charles I leading the Royalists. On the other, we have the parliamentarians led by a man named Oliver Cromwell. Now this was a bit of a problem for the royalists because Charles I had never been an army general, had never led troops in battle before, and really had absolutely no idea what he was doing or why. On the other side, we have the parliamentarians. They're being led by Oliver Cromwell. Now, Oliver Cromwell had been an army general for many, many years, was very, very, very good at war, and was a great strategic thinker. So, in the end, of course, he won. And Charles I became the first and only King of England ever to have his head chopped off. He spent his last night here inside St. James's Palace before being taken down to Whitehall to be executed in front of the whole of London. Now, at this point, the members of Parliament got together and decided what they were going to do now. Just got rid of the king, pretty dramatic move. So, the first thing they do is offer Oliver Cromwell the job of being king. They hadn't actually intended to get rid of the kings and queens altogether. They just wanted rid of Charles I. So, Oliver Cromwell, they said to him, do you want to be King Oliver I of Britain? And Oliver said, no, I think that might be a really bad idea considering you've just beheaded the last one. So Oliver made himself Lord Protectorate of the English Commonwealth instead, and Britain became, to all intents and purposes, a republic for the next 11 years. However, those 11 years were not a very fun time to be living here in this city, or indeed anywhere in England. This is because Oliver Cromwell and the other members of Parliament were all very, very strict Protestants, known as Puritans. And they had some very specific views about what was moral and what was not. And most of the things they considered to not be moral were things that everybody else thought were just fun. They banned quite a lot of these things as well. So they got rid of dancing, they got rid of singing, they got rid of acting. And Oliver Cromwell also became the first and only man in history ever to successfully ban Christmas. So, as you can see, England, not a fun place to be for those 11 years. Now, after 11 years, Oliver Cromwell dies, and his son Richard doesn't really want to take over his job. So, everybody here in England breathes a huge sigh of relief and invites Charles II back from France, where he's been spending the last 11 years, to come and become King of England once again. And England goes back to being a kingdom and has been ever since. But whilst Charles II was over there in France, he picked up some new and crazy ideas he would never have come across here in London. And he brought quite a few of those back with him when he became king. He also brought back quite a number of mistresses, quite a lot of secret lovers, including Nell Gwyn, and that is who we're going to go talk about now. She lives just down this way, so let's go. Oh, sorry guys, we're going to cross the road over here.